Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more turkey patterning, and today we've got another interesting combination of shell and choke to try out, and I think this combination should give us a pretty solid looking pattern. We know these shells can be some good performers, but they can also be a little bit picky about what choke they like, but I think this combination should work out pretty nicely together. But as for the shells I brought out here today, I got out some more of these, the Salt Creek Cold Turkey Blend shells. These are pretty new shell to Salt Creek, and I believe they're $27 or $28 a box, so they're pretty good priced for what they are. They're a 12 gauge, 3-inch, 1 5/8 ounce payload of TSS 9s blended with lead 5s, moving about 1200 feet per second. So they are a blend shell, but it's lead blended with TSS. It's not a full-on TSS shell, which is why the price is sitting where it's at. So it's a pretty happy medium. So definitely a pretty interesting shell. But as for the shotgun we're going to run them through today, I brought out my Remington 870 special purpose. It has a 24-inch barrel on it, and for the choke we've got the Indian Creek 665 in here today. We've tried those shells through a number of different chokes now, and it really seems like they prefer the 665 constriction. That's what they've done best with so far, so I'm thinking this combo should give us a pretty decent pattern. But as for today's test, everything is set up the same as usual. The turkey paper's at 40 yards, and I've got the chronograph so we can get our velocity from the shells. So let's get you guys a view of that target and see what the Salt Creek Cold Turkey Blend shells can give us through the Indian Creek today. Alright, so that shell gave us 1191 through the chronograph. The boss claim is 1200, so that absolutely makes sense for our 24-inch barrel. So looking about perfect for velocity up here, but what kind of a pattern did we get down there at 40? Let's go check it out and see what it gave us. Alright, so now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and I gotta say, it's a little bit on the disappointing side overall. We do have a dead bird here all day long. There's 4 of them through the brain there, and several more down the spine. So yeah, you would have absolutely gotten that turkey. Our core might have favored a touch off to the right, and if it was centered up a little bit better, you would definitely have a few more pellets down through that head and neck area. So you would still absolutely have a dead bird here either way. It does give you leeway to work with, which is nice, but the pattern as a whole is pretty broad and spread out. If we move in here and look at our core, we do have plenty of pellets through there that would get the job done. It is a good blend between the TSS 9s and lead 5s. So since we were off just a little bit, I will go ahead in editing and put up a 10-inch circle just off to the right there so you can see what the core actually looks like. It's not bad, but it is a little bit more on the broad side without a doubt. Around the edges, we do open it up quite a bit. There's a number of voids in here and some flyers and stuff around the edges. Over here off the left, there's a bunch of little stuff over there. So it's definitely not a super fantastic pattern. It's not the worst we've seen, but I can tell you it's far from the best we've seen from these shells as well. And it really seems like a 665 Pattern Master Code Black Turkey is the choke for these. They gave us a great pattern through that choke, and to be fair, that is exactly what Keith from Salt Creek said was going to perform well. So it seems like if you're looking at these shells, that 665 Code Black Turkey is the way to go. And this does kind of continue the trend that we've seen with blend shells. Every time we test them, I say the same thing, but they can be pretty tricky to get to pattern consistently well. And that's regardless of what brand they are, or how high end or low end or cheap or expensive they are. Doesn't really seem to make too much of a difference. Blend shells are just naturally picky. So once you find that choke combination they like, that's probably going to be the one to go with. And with these Cold Turkey blend shells, that is that Pattern Master. So maybe a little bit of a disappointment today overall, but that's why you test your shells through as many different chokes as you can, because sometimes they'll surprise you and do well. Other times it'll be a little bit disappointing, because I figured we would see another pretty nice looking pattern from the same 665 constriction but in Indian Creek today, and that's just not really what we saw here. It would be plenty good enough for a 40-yard turkey hunt, but it's not anything I would call super impressive either. It's not the worst we've seen, but we know these shells can absolutely do better as well. So not exactly the pattern I was expecting to see here today. And here's the wad from that shell. Very typical Salt Creek stuff here. It's nothing fancy, but we know that these can be a good performing wad. There's nothing stuck down in there or anything, but it is a little scraped up and stuff around the sides, which is not at all unusual for an Indian Creek choke. Everything looks pretty much exactly like what I would expect to see, so nothing out of the ordinary here. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about that pattern right there? It's not completely terrible, but it's definitely nowhere near the best we've seen from those shells at all. It's definitely not anything I would call impressive. It would get the job done for you out to 40 yards if this is what you had to work with, but I was pretty surprised that these didn't do better through that Indian Creek 665. We know they like the Pattern Master 665, so I don't know, maybe a little bit of a surprise here, but that's why you test your shells through a bunch of different chokes and see what they like and don't like. So definitely a little bit of a surprisingly disappointing result today, but leave all your thoughts down in the comments. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any of these Salt Creek Cold Turkey blend shells? And if so, what kind of results have you seen from them? Is that a pattern you would hunt with? Or is it just a little bit too broad and open for you? And what other shells might you want to see through that 870 with the Indian Creek 665? Let me know all that down below. At the end of the day, I don't think there's much more we can really say about that. I think we've pretty well covered it all at this point. It's not a horrible pattern, but it's definitely nothing impressive either. And I would have expected this combo to give us a little bit better pattern, but you never really know what something's going to do until you try it, which is why you pattern every combination that you can pattern before you take it out on a hunt. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description down below if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.